The next band on will be Jaguar Land Rover, who will be taken to the stage in about 5 minutes' time. And their programme has got the theme, The Heroes. And it starts off with When Thunder Calls by Paul Lovett Cooper. It'll be followed by Trombonology, which was played originally in 1948 by the great Tommy Dorsey, and this time it's going to be played by soloist Kevin Lee. Then it's followed by Matthew Hall's The Smile, and also then followed to finish off by the Peacemakers. And the last two pieces, we understand, have got some video and imagery to go with it as well. So that's Jaguar Land Rover under Dave Lee, and they'll be following in the next few minutes. Just a couple of little points to tell you. So successful as it's been here in Bolsover today, we've now reached 34 countries, 468 towns and cities within the UK. So it gives you an idea of, putting on brass band events can prove very successful, and that's certainly been the case here. Latest countries to join us is Oman, so I think that may be possibly Daryl Barry, isn't he?
Andy Berryman.
Andy Berryman, whatever. So if you're there watching us, we'll give him a quick wave as well. We've got Malaysia, Barbados, Montserrat, so we've got some very well-off brass band fans if they're in Barbados and Montserrat, and also in Nigeria, but I think that may be somebody asking me for my bank details for a possible £1 million to come back. I don't know with that one, I may be getting in trouble with that one. But there we go. We are now joined, of course, our guest before the next band, which is Richard Wilson and Paul Stamp from the Shepherd Group Band. And for people who don't know where the Shepherd Group Band is, in York.
We're in York.
So you've come down there. Richard, welcome to you.
Thank you.
It's been a great day, and I hope you've enjoyed the performance. Certainly the audience enjoyed it there. Tell us a little bit about the band, interesting background with the band, Nestle chocolate to the people who build porter cabins and portaloos.
That's right, yes. Yeah, all about 10 years ago. I mean, the band has its history right back to the early 1900s as the Rowntree's chocolate factory band. It was put together for the workers at the Rowntree's factory, which covers the majority of York. There's the Rowntree's and Terry's chocolates, where chocolate is. Yeah. It's very much the chocolate capital. About 10 years ago, Nestle came on board. At that time, the band only had rehearsal facilities. There was no sponsorship as such, but we had rehearsal facilities in there. And that is now a private hospital. They've pulled down part of the Nestle, the Rowntree's factory. So we had to find a new home. A couple of the guys that played in the band back then still do. Were working for the Shepherd Group, who, as you mentioned, they own Porter Cabin, Porter Silo, Portaloo, you name it. They own that side, and a construction firm. They spoke to the Shepherd Group, and they were good enough to give us rehearsal facilities within Porter Cabin. We have an unbelievable rehearsal facility. We have what we call the High Bay Theatre, which is their conferencing suite, and that's our home. And we're very, very lucky.
Oh, that's great stuff you've heard as well. And that support which gives to the band gives you a solid foundation on which to build.
Absolutely.
In the North East, it's a small number of bands, but it's a very passionate brass band area as well. So where do your players all come from?
Yeah, well, we do find this a little bit of a problem because in the Vale of York, we are pretty isolated. We're really out of the North East catchment. We're too sort of far away from your Reg Vardys and your Fishburns. They're a long, long way away from us. And we miss the M62 corridor. So players have got to travel if they want to come in from York. They have a fair way to travel. And majority of the players are from York itself. We've got one or two exceptions out towards the coast, Hull, and one or two coming from the Huddersfield area. But as I say, we really have to make our own. We've 4 bands at Shepherd Group, so we've got an unbelievable academy that we run. So a lot of Paul being one of those players that's come right through the ranks and now plays in our senior band. So it is very much self-made.
It's one of the things we talked about, Kenny, as you said, that long-term investment bands, geographically, if they're isolated, that's the only way forward.
It's about building an organisation, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I think a lot of bands get confused these days. They like to build a band. Yeah, we've got a band, and 2 or 3 players leave. What do? Go to another band and get the players.
Exactly.
So you're not really strengthening the art of brass banding, are we?
No.
Build the organisation from the bottom up.
I mean, it's an incredible scene at the minute. I go down. Richard's been taking the 2 bands, the youth band and the academy band, on a Monday. And I couldn't believe it the first time. There's been 40, 50 kids in each band, and adults teaching them along. And it's a fantastic atmosphere. The organisation is absolutely super.
It's obviously a very well-established structure, though.
Those bands have been
in place for a long time.
It really is something to build. When you see these kids and people helping them out, it's an absolutely cracking atmosphere. It really is.
And the long-term development for the band as well. Hopefully, further success at all levels? Do the other levels of the bands compete, or will they just they feed into each other?
Absolutely, that's the idea, that they'll feed. We've got the academy band, which is youngsters and adult learners, you know, and then we formed about 3 years ago. We formed the youth brass band, which is fantastic, but they perform in their own right. This year we do hope to compete with the youth band. So you may see us around. Hopefully, this is a big year for us, because the children, well, I say the youngsters, not children, they've really sort of matured all at a similar age now, and their ability's pretty good. So we're ready to maybe go on to the next stage. Our concert band, we call it a concert band, although it is a brass band, they perform in their own right, but they are unregistered. But they do the hard draw, ska, the rip and entertainment. They do, been really successful. They do really well, but they're not registered, because we like to see the players with that progression. A lot of players out of our concert band will come into the senior organisation. And as far as senior band's concerned, I think the long term is just trying to maintain championship section status, really. When I came to the band sort of 4.5 years ago, we were languishing at the bottom of the first section. We only had 13 players.
Right.
So we've built steadily, and I sort of said 5 years, let's get back into the top section if we can in 5 years. Well, it happened after 2, but that's really for me in the band. It's just giving the infrastructure to stay there, and that's what the other bands are.
It's strange that you see that. We're at the national finals in Cheltenham a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
The North East is now all of a sudden producing successful bands.
Absolutely.
They have over the last couple of years, and all of a sudden it seems to be revitalised band in the North East. You've seen that, haven't we, when we've been there? It's been a bit of a surprise to start off, and all of a sudden each year you keep seeing another band.
Sometimes get surprised at that level with sections 1 to 4. I mean, I always think Yorkshire and North West have got the strongest bands, but at that level it's not necessarily the case, is it? And as you've proved, you've had bands from your area. Yeah.
So in the long-term plans for the band, as you said, consolidation there.
Absolutely.
You're up against strong bands in there. You've got Reg Vardy with the big band, of course, traditionally the big band.
That's right.
EYMS, who has just been on, now they're in that group as well. And then you've got Chesterley Street as well, Fishburn. So even though it's a small top section, it's highly competitive.
It's really competitive. That's the problem. We're into our third. This year will be our next year. Sorry, will be our 4th year as a championship section band, and we've always sort of been around the middle, but 5th, and it's now the real thing would be to try and break into that top 4. We've mentioned the top 4 bands. We've had a 5.
All right. Before we carry on there, we're going to do a mention as well. Right, before we go on then, we just got a little mention before the next band is on for the Margaret Allsop Memorial Fund, which is something which is close to a lot of people's hearts here. To our daughters, Karen and Frankie, who've been working exceptionally hard throughout the day, and the prize is given to the most entertaining band in the championship section, so hope, you never know, you maybe get that award later on today as well. So if you can support that, it's a wonderful charity memorial fund, so we do that there. Next on, though, is the Jaguar Land Rover band with their MD Dave Lee. So we'll be going straight back to the hall to find out how Dave Lee and his boys with this programme called The Heroes, see how they get on. Hope you enjoy it.